On today's hot sheet, I'm discussing record low for sale by owner sellers and rents rising in the East Coast and Midwest metros. Today is Tuesday, November 12th, 2024. I am Byron Lazine, and the hot sheet starts now. Good morning and welcome into the hot sheet as I move this other screen over. I'd love to know in the live chat which market you are tuning in from here today. If you're getting value from what we do each and every single day on the hot sheet, please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel here. Or if you listen to the replays on Apple or Spotify, would love for you to listen or leave a review if you listen to the hot sheet on a normal basis. Share this with somebody who could benefit from a 24-hour look back on everything housing related. Let's jump right in. For sale by owners, you would think with all of the mainstream media headlines and nonsense that they've been pushing out about the changes in our industry, if there's the consensus on mainstream media, by the way, has been that consumers are not getting value from their agent. They're being ripped off. Michael Ketchmark has famously said that agents are fleecing consumers. Well, if there was a majority of consumers that felt this way and not a small number of plaintiffs who were duped by attorneys into thinking in their profit ways, then wouldn't for sale by owners be on the rise? Wouldn't people saying, I'm going to do this myself, the option that they've always had, and not pay a commission? Wouldn't that be something that is growing? But no, that's not the case. For sale by owners, in fact, the article's up on nowbam.com, have fallen to a historic low. With all of the headlines, with all of everything that's gone on in the industry this year, with the lawsuits, with the settlements, for sale by owners are not on the rise. They're on the decline. For sale by owner homes sold for a median sale price of $380,000 in 2023, which is up from $310,000 in 2022. But this is well below the median sale price of the typical home sold with a real estate agent. 380, I mean, prices have gone up from 22 to 23, but 380 is far off of what you can sell the median home for now, which is well up over $400,000. This is directly out of the NAR 2024 report that reveals, a number of different profiles. Okay, we have seller profiles. We're going to go through all of that. I specifically want to just stay on this for sale by owner stuff for a minute. 9 out of 10 sellers right now, 90%. Okay, sold their homes with the help of a real estate agent. It was 89% the year before. So in the year of all the headlines, in the year of everything that has gone on, people using an agent to sell their home goes up from 89% to 90%. In fact, only 6% of those sellers were for sale by owners. Okay, that's a record low. Meaning that 10%, when you see 90% of people use an agent to sell their home, 10% don't say, I'm going to do it on their own. There's a category in there that might sell to an investor. We buy homes for cash. Maybe it's some type of but we know iBuying is a very low sector of the market. Okay, but it still should be an option that you present to your sellers so you're not hiding details about the market. Sellers feel a certain way when they find out, my agent never told me I could get cash instantly for my home. It's why Zoodealio offers 4 options, and we've provided Zoodealio for every single BAMX member. That platform, by the way, costs more than BAMX. Zoodealio is giving it to all BAMX members as part of your BAMX membership so that you can bring 4 instant offers to your sellers. So you can have full transparency in the market, knowing that most sellers aren't going to take that option. They're going to take your go-to-market strategy and try to capitalize the most money possible. The most money possible doesn't sit in an instant cash offer, nor does it sit in a for sale by owner. The data is clear on both. The most money net to a seller is provided by going to the market and reaching the most buyers possible and using an agent to navigate that process. Okay. Among home sellers who knew the buyer, 38% did end up doing that deal on their own. So that's that, that category where people are just like, hey, I'm going to sell it to, I'm going to sell it to my niece. Okay. I'm going to sell a property to my niece because I like her. Well, they went and did the deal with an attorney or a title company. But 95% of sellers who did not know who their buyer was going to be went out and hired an agent. 95% of people who are like, I need to capture the market, I need a competitive environment for my property, had an agent manage that process. Okay. The characteristics of for sale by owners that were sold from June to June, 23 to 24, 8% of those were mobile or manufactured homes were sold without an agent, along with 5% of detached single family homes. Okay. 96% of apartments, condo buildings with at least 5 units were sold with the help of an agent. Those are complicated deals at times. For sale by owners, here's the big one: sell for less than the final price of homes sold with an agent. According to this new report, the $380,000 in 2023 was the median sale price of for sale by owners, and that's compared to $435,000 with the help of a real estate agent. So we're talking about a $55,000 spread, and you can do the math on what the commission would be on a typically, okay, on the averages. I know we're not supposed to talk about numbers, but there are what happens to be an average commission in different markets. When you take all the numbers and you add them together and you divide them by total deals, attorneys, NAR, that's what's called an average. It's data. A number shouldn't be offensive. It's just a little bit of data. And I can tell you that the average in every single marketplace, and they're all different because commissions are negotiable and markets are different and price points are different and inventory levels are different. It's like the disclaimer now I have to say for the people who are a little bit quick to catch up on reality. But the difference of, that 55,000 with an agent for sale by owner is far greater than what the fees are going to be on the averages. And it's well greater than on the average. And that's not even factoring in that most of those for sale by owners pay a commission to a buyer agent for bringing them a deal. The reason for sale by owners are selling their homes for less is they don't know how to position the marketing. They have trouble pricing the property. Most for sale by owners reach for aspirational pricing. They don't know how to have a good first impression to the market. They don't know how to manage showings in a timely fashion to create demand in competitive like situations. All of these nuance, they're not strong negotiators. They negotiate with emotion instead of facts and data. And so what ends up happening is DOM racks up for sale by owners, right? Days on market start to accumulate. And when you get an accumulation on days on market because of a variety of the reasons explained, you end up selling the properties for less. Okay. Here were the most common ways for sale by owners, or FSBOs, as you'll hear agents reference all the time if you're listening and not an agent. The most common way FSBO sellers price their homes was through a property appraisal. 40%. So 4 out of 10 went and got an appraisal. Okay. Now, when you go and get an appraisal that is not tied to the bank being the client, when the seller goes and hires an appraiser, before the property goes on to the market, here's the reality of what happens. The seller is now the client. When the bank is the client, the appraiser has to really sharpen that pencil. They've got to be really precise with the last 3 comps, the last 6 comps. They've got to really back this thing up for the bank. Okay. When there's a personal appraisal done by the seller, you tend to see more flexibility, especially if that seller influences the appraiser because they're the paying customer. If the seller says, I really think my home is worth this 100 times before the appraiser leaves, it may influence where the appraiser comes in at. They're not being checked by a bank. Okay. And a seller who's maybe only sells once or every 10 years or has never sold, is if they're leading with that emotion with the appraiser, they may influence them negatively to kind of validate their own beliefs, make them feel good about the list price that they're going out to, and create a higher than what market conditions would actually support. The other difference between appraisers and agents is, as much homes as appraisers look at, they're not, to me, as dialed in on the negotiations. As they're very smart, no question about it. But they're not as dialed in as an agent on the nuances of the deal, maybe what's coming to market, what's being held on inventory, somewhere else, and how a negotiation went down around the corner. Okay. So these little nuances about, getting that, perfect price. There is no perfect price. There's 3 ways to price a home: aspirational, market, and below market. We all get that. And there's strategies to all of them. But for sale by owners can screw that process up and the strategy that they picked, quite easily. Okay. So for sale by owners, 36% of them use recent homes sold in the area. Okay. Are they, are they finding this? Think about that. Where are they finding those recently homes sold? Are they trying to organize that on one of the national portals? I mean, we know that there's still value in the MLS just based on organization of comps. I mean, there's no national portal that can organize the comps as well as your MLS can. Okay. Online home evaluation tools. So, these are probably going to be more generic home eval tools. Profit. They're just like, hey, I need this money in my pocket. I'm listing it here. Let's go. Aspirational pricing, you could call that. Most for sale by owners, 94%, do not offer any buyer incentives. Okay. They're going for sale by owner for a reason. They're trying to save a nickel. Okay. The 2 biggest reasons why for sale by owners chose the route. Okay. They sold to a relative, friend, or neighbor. That is if they don't care about getting the highest price possible, most people obviously do. But you want to help out a relative, totally understand that makes a lot of sense. This reason is about as dumb of a reason as there is out there, and you just have to look at the data that comes out every single year: 380,000 versus 435,000. So avoiding a commission cost tens of thousands of dollars for those for sale by owners, as opposed to hiring a professional, an expert to handle and manage the process, and then ultimately net more money in your pocket in the end as the seller. And, oh, by the way, not do the work on top of it. It's a no-brainer. The data backs that up. If the data didn't support it, there'd certainly be a case there. 63% of for sale by owners do not actively market their homes. Okay, think about that. How are you going to get the most eyeballs on your home by not actively marketing the home? What the heck's the point of having it on the market? Just kind of like throwing up a photo on Z or Realtor.com and just crossing the finger and hoping. The most difficult part of selling the process for them was getting the price right. 17% is why you see days on market rack up. Selling within the length of time that they wanted. Well, that kind of correlates back to one, you didn't price it right, you didn't market it right, you didn't have a great first impression. So of course you didn't get the job done in the time length that you wanted. You went out there half baked. Understanding and performing the paperwork, 10%. Okay. So there you go on the for sale by owner. Now there's a full report on this. And we'll probably dig into more of this in the future. This is the profile This was directly pulled out of the profile from the home buyers and sellers. Let me just check. Let me check our hot sheet show notes. By the way, hot sheet show notes available for every single BAMX member. I see a comment in there talking about using the hot sheet show notes each and every single day. Hot sheet show notes have not only a lot of this data that we just uncovered so that you can simply copy and paste it, put it into your communications. Maybe you're following up with a for sale by owner right now. You need some data-driven analysis. You can go right into a hot sheet show notes and download that. It also has the original source linked in there and the article. This is all breaking it down easy for you inside of BAMX so that you can pull that. Use code HOT to get into BAMX today. Of course, as mentioned, you also have a platform for Zoodealio where you can bring 4 offers to your sellers. That Zoodealio platform for sale by owners, like, hey, when you're calling on a for sale by owner, like, hey, I want to come toward the property. I've got buyers in the area. I also could just bring you a couple offers right now. How many for sale by owners do you have a buyer? Actually, I do, and I could bring you 4 offers when I come and look at the property. I could also leave you a package with information that you can use if you don't like any of those 4 offers. I can also leave you a package on my go-to-market strategy. Dude, you'll do that for me? You'll bring 4 offers. You get that from Zoodealio. You'll bring tips for me to sell the house on my own if I decide to stay a for sale by owner, and you'll drop me off your go-to-market strategy if I want to work. Like, that might be the easiest conversation in the world to have. Another thing that stood out to me, and we'll dig into more of this in the future here. There's a lot in this report. We don't have time to get through it all here today on this particular hot sheet, but I'll pull pieces of it and mix it in as we move forward. This one here, the characteristics of home buyers right now. Look at this. Only 24% of first-time home buyers or 24% of buyers rather, are first-time home buyers. We're running at a 32% level last year. This is the lowest level recorded since they were recording this number. Okay, this is they started collecting this data in 1981. The lowest year of first-time home buyers previously was 2022. We know what happened there. The money printing machine fell off the rails and inflation went through the roof and interest rates skyrocketed at the most rapid pace that we've seen. Before that, the lowest level was 1987 and it was 30%. Historically, we run closer to 40%, mid 30%. Okay, pre-pandemic, the years in the pre-pandemic, we were running, if we call recovery 13 to 19, those years were 38%, 33, 32, 35, 34, 33, and then 33 again. Okay, all-time low on first-time home buyers. Now, this number would be higher if we had, a fix for affordability. On top of that, first-time home buyers have aged up considerably. Remember, to be classified a first-time home buyer, you haven't owned a home in the last 3 years. And the age has jumped up on first-time home buyers into the 50s, I believe. But we'll jump into some more of that as we move forward and mix some of that data into some of these other hot sheets. There's a lot there. This was just published, and so as we continue to dig through, we'll bring you all of that information. Redfin just released this morning some information on rents. If you followed yesterday's hot sheet, we're talking about rents as we look at where inflation is going. Jerome Powell acknowledged that there's not an inflationary concern on new rents, but the data and what's keeping rent and housing numbers high is the lagging data, a year or 2 year old rents. The reality of what's happening right now, as referenced yesterday, is current rents are not inflationary. Okay, rents are now flat nationally in October. Once again, flat or down. That's been the case here for months. Realtor.com has actually done a really good job covering this. Now, Redfin is putting up maybe the caution ad rising rents are happening in the East Coast and Midwest metros. Those are areas where for sale inventory is the lowest in the country, particularly the Northeast. The median asking rent rose 0.2% year over year in October to 1,619, but was down 0.6% month over month. They dropped slightly across all bedroom counts for the third time in 4 months. The asking price per square foot for rental apartments fell 1.1% year over year. That's the 18th consecutive month with a decline. This is a huge indicator of we're not living through an inflationary period here on new rents, asking price. If the landlord or the property owner believed they could get more, you best believe they're going to ask for more. But no, for the 18th consecutive month, asking price on rental apartments fell. Okay. Virginia Beach recorded the biggest rent increase, and Raleigh, North Carolina, posted the biggest decrease. Okay. Here are your rents by bedroom count. So 0 to 1 bedrooms right now trending at 1,475. 2 bedrooms at 1,700, and 3 bedrooms just under 2,000. Again, the national average when all combined is $1,619. Here are the major metros with the highest rent increases. Again, Virginia Beach leads the list. You have DC, Cleveland, Chicago, Baltimore, Providence, Rhode Island, Memphis, Minneapolis, Columbus, and Detroit as the metros. I don't actually see a lot of Northeast in there. The metros with the highest increases are, I guess, more Midwest. To me, you got a little bit of, I don't consider Virginia Beach, DC, Baltimore as part of the Northeast. They may pretend to be, but they are not. They are just East Coast. Metros with the highest rent decreases here: Raleigh, as mentioned, Tampa, Jacksonville, Austin, San Diego. So 3 of the top 5, Florida, Texas, where you have for sale inventory really increasing. San Diego, Nashville, be in Nashville at the end of the week. San Francisco, Pittsburgh, Orlando, and Phoenix. Some of these decreases are pretty staggering. 10% in Raleigh. Obviously, North Carolina dealing with storms. And you have Jacksonville at 9.3%. Done a lot of building for rent inventory there. Austin, certainly a lot of for rent inventory the last number of years, 10.4%. Nashville, another one of those with a lot of inventory built up for rent, coming in at 12%. The median asking rate in all 3 of those, the Jacksonville's, Austin, and Nashville, is well below national. Okay, so you're basically at an average of $1,500 across the board in those 3 cities. Those are more affordable cities when you look at rent prices versus what it costs to buy a home in America. Than almost anywhere else. That is really an affordable option. If you're a young professional and thinking about, how do I, stretch my dollar, like Austin, Texas is one of those places that is really attractive for that reason. It's like, hey, $1,500, get a good rent, maybe probably new, and keep more of the money outside of house, and if you go to buy a house in some of these other areas across the country, the affordability issue is a real major concern. One of the concerns that we've talked about over the year is obviously, how strong is the economy? Most people, per the way, they logged into the exit polls last week and obviously voted, and other data has come out. Most people don't believe the economy is really working for them. Just an anecdotal bit of evidence that maybe things are starting to turn a little bit. Obviously, confidence seems to be up. Just look at Wall Street. Look at Bitcoin hitting $89,000 for the first time ever. There's some real momentum in the investor markets. But Home Depot had their annual or their quarterly report here, their earnings rather. And they say sales are starting to improve, but they still say consumers are still cautious about spending. So, another example, the economy not working for everybody. That's just based on the earnings report here. I thought it was worth mentioning. I like to look at Home Depot, Lowe's. What are they sensing about the homeowner consumer, and how much are they spending? But sales starting to improve there, so good signal there. 10-year going the opposite direction of kind of that trend that we saw yesterday. Look at this last 24 hours, trending back up 4.365. Yesterday, we did not have a read on the 30-year fix with Veterans Day. Thank you to all our veterans. But we did not get a read on the 30-year fix. So the last read was, again, Friday at 6.92. The weekly came in at 6.79. We'll see where that goes today with that slight increase on the 10-year. Later today as well, we will have a new Real Word podcast up here on the channel, here on @NowBam YouTube channel. If you listen on Spotify or Apple, the Real Word podcast is hosted on a separate Apple Spotify channel. So it's not a BAM channel. It is just the Real Word podcast on Apple, Spotify. And Nicole and I will be digging into some of the conversation that happened at NAR last week, some of the reports coming out. I actually spent 24 hours there in Boston. I'll give you my take on it as well. That podcast will be up later today for those interested in the next Real Word podcast. And until then, of course, have a great day. I will see you soon over there on the Real Word Pod. And of course, toodaloo.